Of course, the problem is not solved. You know, as long as people can be judged by the color of their skin, the problem's not solved. As long as there are people who still, and there's a whole generation, I say this, you know, I said this, you know, for apartheid South Africa, I said this for my own, you know, community in the South. There are still generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
You big fat bitch!
Good morning, everybody. Roger here. I want to go ahead and talk today about fake or hoax hate crimes. Yeah, we have a lot of them, and I think we've had an influx of them since the day after Trump's presidential win. So, November 8th, 9th? I can't remember. Anyways, we have another one going on right now, and this one is involving Canada. Apparently, and I might get some of the details wrong, but I know some of the basics here. A young woman, a young girl, about 7 or 8 years old or something, she has reported that her hijab was being ripped apart with scissors or torn off with scissors by an older man whom she said fled, and then her and her brother ended up running away, and then he returned to continue to cut off the hijab. And this made national headlines, and it made a lot of people on Twitter go crazy. A lot of government officials, you know, Canadian officials that, you know, you guys voted in to actually have an understanding of what's going on.
I feel confused, scared, terrified.
What would you say to that man if he's watching you right now?
I think what you're doing is really wrong. You should not act like this, and especially I'm a kid.
You are fake news, sir. Go ahead. Can you state?
And also Justin Trudeau, you know, who always looks like he's about to cry every time he's on stage. So
my heart goes out to the young girl who was attacked, seemingly for her religion. I can't imagine how afraid she must have been.
He ended up both, you know, venting out on Twitter, social media, and going and making a big meeting about this with a lot of nice, fancy people in the background, young kids and whatnot. Anyways, this all turned out to be fake. After the investigation, it's officers the following day, not even 24 hours later, the following day has said, yeah, this never happened. You know, we've concluded that, and it was a hoax from the beginning. I don't know if they use the word hoax, but I'm using it. So, okay, that's what I kind of want to focus on here is why. We have a lot of people in this. I remember the day after Trump was elected, after the numbers were tallied, and the people's voice won, not corruption voice. There were some people, I think there was one in particular who put swastikas all over a church in South Carolina or North Carolina, I can't remember where.
A black church in Mississippi torched after someone spray painted it with the words, "Vote Trump."
Now, that happened on November 1st, a week before the presidential election. Well, today, police finally made an arrest.
But it's not what the community was expecting at all. Tonight, a member of the very church that was burned down is in custody. 45-year-old Andrew McClinton is himself an African-American. He was arrested in Greenville, where Hopewell Missionary Baptist Church was burned and vandalized on November the 1st. McClinton was reportedly sentenced back in 1991 to 3 years probation for grand larceny. He also was once sentenced to 7 years for attempted robbery, along with some other arrests. He's now in trouble again, awaiting his initial appearance in Greenville Municipal Court.
And that turned out to be fake. There was a guy who painted KKK all over. It was reported that it was a hate crime. It turned out to be a black guy doing it. A woman who had said that somebody ripped off her hijab in college, and I believe this was in Florida, I could be wrong. that one ended up being a little bit more public, the aftermath of it, because she ended up lying and went to court, and now I think she's serving a sentence. She could be done, I'm not sure. But she had basically said that college students had ripped her hijab off, and that turned out to be totally false, and she even admitted to it.
A UL Lafayette student who claimed she was attacked and robbed by 2 males, one with a Trump hat, says she made the whole thing up. Problem is, since then, this incident has struck a wave across the nation, going viral on Facebook and even appearing in a handful of national newspapers.
Now this student claims Trump supporters attacked her and robbed her of her wallet and her hijab. Now the police have conducted an investigation. It turns out this entire story was made up. Students here on campus say it's unfortunate that incidents like this are being spread around with the campus's name on it. It is blown up on social media. It has 6,000 shares on Facebook. The New York Times, Washington Post, Huffington Post, and several other news stations have shared this story.
So anyways, all these things that are supposed race crimes, they're not. At least 9 times out of 10, they're not. You know, there are legitimate ones in there, but they're few and far between. You know, I can't believe people would have used this kind of a scenario for personal gain or whatever kind of gain. Anyways, I had a friend on Facebook, and I still have him as a friend, I believe. I haven't checked because I don't log on to Facebook all that much these days. I don't really care. I'd rather focus my time here. He ended up, because I always posted a lot of stuff about, you know, you guys are going to be wrong about the election. This is where it's going. And, you know, he was one of the ones that bragged, no, you know, there's a 99% chance from these polls here that Hillary's going to win. I'm like, I'm telling you, these polls are wrong. Well, lo and behold, he got a lot of my friends, actually, you know, they unfriended me at the time, and you know, people that I've known all my life that I thought would, you know, just be friends for forever, whatever. Anyways, so this one friend in particular emails me, and he's like, I'm going to sum it up. He just basically says, you know, I can't believe what kind of person you turned out to be. You know, when you were a trainer, you used to be a totally different person. Now it seems like you're, you know, just, you've gone down a different path, and I want to remember the Roger that I used to know, and so I want you to unfriend me. The other thing that he said in between that was, I want you to know that racism exists, and with Trump's election, racism is very, very bad. I might actually even post a screenshot of this on here. I think I will, so you guys can read it. Anyways, it goes on to say something like, you know, my friend, he was jogging, and the day after the election, and then people in a big, some white rednecks in a big truck, and I could be exaggerating right there. Some rednecks in a big trucks, you know, honked at him, screamed, you know, we now get to beat you up because President Trump's in office. Something to that extent is the nonsense I received in this email. I knew right from the start that it was fake. Okay, so the reason why I know this stuff is fake is because everybody got on the bandwagon to be a victim. Everybody was a victim the following day, saying there were you know, people saying now that Trump is president, we're going to kick your asses. Now that Trump is president, white power, you know, etc. Things like that. It's totally not true. Totally not true. This I'm pretty sure it turned out to be a lie. I never validated it, but I'm assuming it falls in line with all the rest of the stories out there currently, where people are claiming racism, people are claiming a hate crime, and then 9 times out of 10 it turns out to be false. So now these people, they fabricate these stories, and sometimes it's for their individual novelty, their individual you know, whoring of who they are, and wanting to get out there and whoring the victim mentality, whoring, you know, being an attention whore. And little do they know that there's a bigger picture in mind, because the masses are going to be behaving like this. It was all done by design, you know, getting everybody freaked out, throwing out all these fake stories that nobody's going to ever research. And I'm going to get back to that point. I'm going to loop it all around. Nobody's ever going to research, and so they dive into it. They bring their own victimized story, and now everybody is listening to them, and there's a majority of people who will lend their ear, like, oh my God, yeah, this poor person, you know, it's you know, it's such a shame that people are being haters like this, you know, to these people, and being racist, and, you know, ripping off hijabs and everything. So they run with these stories. These stories get to end up being these stories end up being fake. They get thrown out there into the limelight. They're thrown out there into the limelight. There's a lot of people who eat Monsanto shit all day. There's a lot of people who take medication all day. There's a lot of people who don't know what the fuck they're doing all day. And they'll believe these stories. They'll believe these stories. And guess what happens afterwards too? 9 times out of 10, the story is changed. It's proven that it's been false. They will redact the original story. Not even redact it. They won't even change anything. They'll usually put a note at the very bottom of an article that basically saying, oh, update, you know, it's proven that this was fake or whatever. But they'll still keep the headlines. And they'll still keep the article. They understand that stupid people who are very easily manipulated will not go back and read an article. They know this. And even if they did, they already have this, they already subconsciously believe that there is racism. They do subconsciously believe that they have to be these warriors that actually have to keep fighting and keep bringing up even fake things to win this war or whatever. So while the rest of us can go back and look at these, and, you know, I bookmark all of these incidents, and I like to make sure that, you know, I keep tally of what's fake and what's not, and what's, you know, how long it takes something to be exposed as a false narrative, you know, and it's fun. There's a lot of people who don't. They're like, oh my God, you know, they read the story for the first time. Wow, somebody ripped their thing off of her head. This is injustice. We're going to go ahead and start making signs and protesting and doing this and that and this and that. And then they build that energy and keep getting crazier and crazier. And that energy, it reverberates with other people who don't know how to think, with other people who are flawed in the head, who have issues. And they start believing this stuff is real. They don't even, half the time, the majority of these people won't even look at a story. They'll hear it from a person, they'll hear it from a friend, and they'll just assume it's real. Oh my God, yeah, it happened before in the past. Did you hear about this? They'll never know. And they'll never be surrounded by people who understand the truth of that scenario of what happened. So they're never going to be given the opportunity to understand the truth. So they go with that. It happens more and more and more. People are now more and more manipulated into believing this. And it serves a purpose. The purpose here is this. The stupider the people are, the more they can be controlled. The more lies you can throw at them. The more they will feed off of it and be fighters. Free fighters for people spreading this false narrative. Think about it. There are You have this group of people who want to feel like they belong. They've been oppressed for so long with, you know, I'm not even going to use that word oppressed. They've been living a life of nothingness for so long and no ambition. You know, the majority of them probably receive government assistance and don't ever attempt to try to work or anything or better their lives. I'm saying most, not all. And I'm not saying some, I am saying most. And then they, you know, some of them feel like that they could turn to being a justice warrior as a career, and that the government will supplement them with, you know their Section 8 or, you know, their WIC or whatever, SNAP program or whatever benefits they get, and feel like this is going to be something that they can, you know, strive to become. So anyways, they do it all with a false narrative, and they've gotten so far and so deep into it that when they do go back and realize that one of these stories, somebody shows them one of these stories is actually false, they're going to say, well, that's just one scenario. And little do they know, because they're not going to go back and do their research. They're like, that's just one example. There are many examples of there being hate crimes everywhere committed against people, and then when you try, it's useless to try to debate against these people, because they're going to be like, give me another example, and you give them more and more examples, and then they'll just keep saying, nope, you know, there's still a lot more. They will never change their mind, so they'll always be in this mentality that there is racism, the white man is bad, that people like me who are minorities, who support people not lying, basically, are evil. Whatever, you know, we have to stand up for the truth, and these people are not. So it goes full circle. These people are being used as puppets. These people are being used as puppets. These stories, although sometimes redacted and edited to be corrected, are used as propaganda pieces mainly, and that's the intent. The whole issue was never that they got the story wrong in the first place. They want, before it gets discovered, for the majority of these fake news outlets, before a story gets discovered, they want to make sure that the story is actually out there, the bigger picture is to make sure a lot of people are influenced by it and believe it, because they understand that people who think that way are not going to be, they're not quick-witted, and they're not going to go back and check things out. They're going to basically be believing it firmly with no questions asked, and just assume racism is racism is racism, and hate crime is hate crime is hate crime. They're not ever going to try to go back and look at any corrected articles or anything. So now they're weapons in this whole game, and now the more of them that we have to go against, the harder it is for us to regain liberty, freedom, and truth. So that's the big issue here, is that you know, this is never going to go away. This is always going to be there, and this is why making content like this is one of the reasons why I started making content like this, is to expose, you know, to be very blunt about things. I don't ever sugarcoat anything. I think if you watch my videos, you know that is the case. I'm a very fair person, but if you cross that line with me, if anyone crosses that line in a negative way, and they are wrong, I will prove them wrong. If somebody crosses the line and they actually bring fact to the table, and I will own up to it. I've done it many times, and you know, I don't have that ego above me, and I think that's why I'm able to deliver this content with no issue. Some of the stuff I say might be harsh, and this is probably one of them. You know, I don't believe that there's a lot of hate crimes, and it makes real hate. It's sad because then you don't know when a real hate crime happens. You know, and what do you do then? You know, your false narrative has gotten in the way, and all because of your gluttonous action of wanting things to be your way, you know, while taking down somebody else, and all because you feel something is a way to be done. Makes no sense. So anyways, I think this kind of stuff is propaganda. Stuff like this, fake news like this, is actually pushed out there for a purpose. It's by design. It's to influence people. It's not a mistake. And when the stories are redacted or retracted or whatever, and edited and fixed, they've already accomplished what they were intended to do in the first place. And the cycle will keep continuing. And yeah, that's how I see it. Anyways, what do you guys think? Is there something I may have missed? I know I missed something here. There's something in my head, 2, 3, or 4 things that I wanted to talk about, but when I'm making films driving, it's kind of tough. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it was kind of insightful. If it wasn't, you know, tell me why. And I just want to say, you know, there's a lot of comments I have yet to answer. Believe me, I'm trying to go back to them, but I'm really busy. And then when I have to go and edit my videos, it takes a little while sometimes. I'll try to tone it down with some of the funny business, and then we'll go from there. But I do want to end up letting you know that I'm going to eventually get to a lot of the comments as much as I can anyways. I appreciate all of them. There's some pretty insightful people in my comments, and I really appreciate that. So thanks for watching this video, and you guys all have a great day. Bye.
Just shut up already.
But